Hey people, welcome to the channel and stay for this video. It's going to be about two great improvised weapons that you can use basically anywhere. Now this is going to be a little bit of a follow-up video to the one I did about defending yourself against knife attacks, given what happened in Germany. We talked about that already. Of course, I explained that the best tool you can have is actually a proper firearm for this, right? Could be this very pretty HKP7 or whatever else, but basically that's your best option. Now, what happens when that's not available and you have some other things? We've addressed that in that video. By the end of this video, you will have that probably linked there below to follow through, and you will have my button there for subscribing to the channel if you think it's worth it. So yeah, consider that too. But in this video, there's two things you can carry pretty much anywhere that will give you a big advantage in case you ever need it. I strongly suggest you get my books as well, especially for this sort of thing. Street survival skills involves a lot of awareness, not getting caught in the first place, the idea of identifying suspicious behavior and so on, a number of things and tactics you can apply when defending yourself against any sort of attack, blade, any sort of weapon being used. But it's gonna be a lot about having the right mindset for these things, okay? Now, having said that, with the right mindset, if you have some tool so as to help you out, that's going to be a huge bonus, right? So this is not in the table. Yeah, it's on the table right now, but it's not in your options, right? Neither are some of these things. Oh, I live in UK. I can have an HK or a Glock or a knife. I can't have any. I cannot even have pepper spray because I'm living in this horrible dystopian parallel reality. Well, you know what I did take to London last time I was there? This good old umbrella, right? This is collar and cuff. This is a storm-proof umbrella. There are unbreakable umbrellas. There's some like defense umbrellas and so on, but basically it's not going to be all that different from this. It is a very thick fiberglass rod of an umbrella with a steel tip. Now, I did have the precaution of putting one of these rubber sleeves that I made myself with one of these, the shrinking rubber for electric work. You probably know what that is if you have any kind of, if you've done any kind of electricity. So it's basically like a little sleeve of rubber that you put through it right here, and with a lighter, it just shrinks to shape. It shrinks down to this. I use that just to cover it because I thought, maybe someone in the airport. I took this on the freaking plane, right? You can take this anywhere. So I covered the metal tip, and the guy, the security guy in the airport, looked at me like, "Huh, that's a big ass umbrella you have here, sir." Yes, of course. I'm going to London where it rains. And he was, yeah. And he did not realize he could just pull it out, and he was okay. There you go. And I went, in that plane without any issue. This is an option. This is a serious option. We saw that knife attack happen in London where a guy used a whalebone of some kind, right? This is not going to be a whalebone. This is going to be even better. It is quite light because it's fiberglass. It is quite long because it's pretty big, and it has a metal tip that is kind of sharp. Now, it's not a spear. That's the kind of thing that will not get through most security. You could have maybe a little bit more pointy, but I'd rather have the sharp edge where any little cuts, any little speed that you apply, any little force will be pretty effective. This against your eyes, your nose, your mouth, but this gives you mostly the length, right? This gives you the thing of someone comes with a knife, you can just use a little bits of basic skills, but you have that length, right? And you can just poke at someone's face, mouth, eyes, ideally jamming this thing in someone's eye. That would be ideal. Is it going to be easy? No. But a neck hit may work, something in the teeth, whatever it is, you have a much greater chance of keeping that away from you, right? And it may be a number of attacks, but especially when it's going to be a knife and maybe a little bit of a longer, bigger knife, when you have double the reach, that can work in your advantage quite a bit, all right? So umbrella, again, a no-brainer option, and there are some umbrellas that are stronger than others. I would not go for the collapsible tiny little ass umbrella. I would go for something like more cartoonish and big like this one. Good option, I feel, and for a number of things, in this with this umbrella, I always feel that whenever I have it with me, even grabbing it, and again, these are techniques. I have a chapter dedicated to this in my book. Holding it a little bit right about there in the middle, maybe a little bit on the back, it gives you the option that even when you're walking around, right, you're not using it as a walking stick like some people sometimes do. And if you have a walking stick, this applies too. But holding it here, when you're just walking and people maybe getting a little bit close, you don't have to jam or be rude or anything. You just keep it here, pointed down so as to not hit anyone. But it is an element that kind of puts a perimeter in your personal space. You know, holding it like this, excuse me, whatever, right? When you're not being rude, you're not jamming this into, no, but you're protecting yourself from people that are getting maybe a little bit too close to comfort. And this is a wonderful option to have and consider, right? The other one that maybe is not as well known, or as you probably haven't even considered, or maybe you did, not inventing anything new here, is a belt. There's a bunch of movies where someone brings out a belt and whatnot. That's all nice. That's all good. Which was, it's been in a few movies already. So again, I'm not inventing anything, but I'm just giving you options to consider. I think it was in one of these, The Punisher. Yeah, I think it was on the TV series, The Punisher. He was in a bathroom fight, and he was fighting against two people with knives. You know, stupid as it could be, but he brings out the belts. Well, there is something to be said about the belts, about the almighty belt. Not all belts are made the same. This is going to be a pretty thick belt. There's going to be a belt that has a lot of metal in this part. And this is something you can use in a number of ways, right? You could probably have this, and if you want something of a shorter reach, you can just wrap this thing, right, around your hand like so, right? And it's going to be protecting your hand a little bit more. And you have this to hit with. Basically like a blackjack, right? Like a bludgeoning weapon. And it is surprising. I tried this. I did a video. It's a few years old. But hitting this with a watermelon, hitting a watermelon with this thing, this will crack skulls, water metal, or whatever it is in its way. It is heavy. It is metal. And if you're hitting like this, it's going to cut. And if you hit like this, it's going to smash whatever's in its way. So this can be quite effective. You could do something, and especially this belt that comes out very easily, you could just wrap it around here and just start swinging. You have a decent amount of length. And if, say, you're in a park and you have someone with a knife, maybe you start swinging this thing over your head, right? Or swinging it around and just keeping your distance with it, especially if it's an open space, someone with a knife, and you don't have anything else. I would be happy enough to have at least a belt. Ideally, I would have that, but if that's not an option, this is something that using it properly gives you a nice bit of reach, right? And you have that option of swinging and hitting someone in the head with this thing. That will be, it's not just going to be unpleasant. You have some solid chance of cracking someone's face with it and disrupting his vision, not only his desire to keep on fighting, which I assume will not be impaired in any way. I assume that guy will have to be physically incapable of continuing with his aggression. Now, if you get a couple of hits with this in someone's head, in someone's face, there is a chance of achieving that much better than having nothing at all, right? So yeah, these two are definitely options to consider, right? You want to get more ninja about it and start wrapping and pulling and tying up hands and so on. Yeah, I would just rather start swinging with a good amount of length in a place like a park or whatnot. And if it's something that I have maybe more of a close distance kind of situation, maybe going for something like this, right? More of a close quarter impact kind of weapon thing. A little bit of force, a little bit of velocity will go a long way in making this very effective. Guys, that's going to be all for now. If you enjoy the content of the channel, do subscribe. You will have the buttons there and some other videos to keep watching. Take care.